Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Sean and today I am doing my 10 favorite literary characters of all time. So let's get into it. Number 10 on the list is a bit of a surprise, I think. It goes to Anne Shirley, the titular character of Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. This just goes to show this is a top 10 characters, not a top 10 books. I say that because I did not ultimately like Anne of Green Gables, the book. It just drove me crazy. Basically, I loved the character of Anne. I thought her introduction in the first 15 or 20 pages was great. I quickly fell in love with her. She reminded me a lot of one of my own characters in my books, Rose Creed. They're very similar, basically sassy redheads, and I just love her. One of the first things she says when we meet her is that she wants to be called Anne, A-N-N-E, not Anne, A-N-N. One of my favorite lines in the book came really early on when Anne is asked about her name, and she tells the guy, or woman, I forget who she's talking to, but she says, "Can you call me Cordelia?" And I just love that line because it's just so random and just like, "What's your name? Can you call me Cordelia?" And I was just like, oh, I love this girl. But L.M. Montgomery was just not able to do anything with Anne from that point. She just didn't build on it. It didn't sustain. So ultimately, I didn't like the book. But still, I really loved Anne. She had so much potential. So she gets the 10 spot here. Number 9 is another bit of a surprise, to me at least. That goes to Harry Flashman, the main character in George MacDonald Fraser's Flashman series. This is another example of why this video is about my 10 favorite characters, not my 10 favorite books. I had major problems with the Flashman series. So just as far as the character goes, I really liked part of the character of Flashman. Basically, Flashman is this military officer around the 1880s or so, a British military officer, and his main thing is he is known as like this war hero. But the truth of the matter is that he is a notorious coward, and I love that. That's a great character trait. He is definitely an anti-hero, and along with that, he is also a womanizer, and he is definitely a racist. So in the series, he goes around to all these different areas like India, China, the American West, and deals with the American Indians. And basically, wherever he goes, he is going to talk about how much he hates the people there. And anyway, I don't want to get into it too much, but that's definitely a part of his character as well. The main reason I say I like him is because I like that it's very politically incorrect. So anyway, I am really split on this. I do not like George MacDonald Fraser's series anymore, the Flashman series. I am not reading any more of it. But still, I really liked Flashman in part. I love the part about how he's a coward even though he's known as this war hero, and some of the politically incorrect humor was very funny to me, but again, I just had issues with him. But still, for whatever reason, he winds up on the 9 spot here. Part of why I may be a little bit generous with him is because I do have a signed book by George MacDonald Fraser, and this was one of the Flashman books, Flashman and the Angel of the Lord. This one deals, I think, with the Civil War and like the Underground Railroad. And so naturally, in the book, I think Flashman is a slaver at one point, which is why I do not want to read any more of the series. But anyway, this is a signed copy, and I just love that. I love, I'm a sucker for signed books. Number 8 goes to The Phantom/Eric from Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. This is a book that I've actually meant to mention elsewhere on my channel, but I've never had the occasion to. I really kind of liked Phantom of the Opera, and I would compare it a lot to Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, a book that I liked a lot. And the reason I like them is kind of similar. They're both pretty dry, wordy books, but by the end of it, I found out I really liked it, and I was really glad I stuck with it till the end. The thing about the Phantom that makes him such an iconic character to me is he's written like so supernaturally. He has such a supernatural presence, But spoiler warning, in the end, he's just some guy. And I really like that, just that he's built up so much and he's just a regular random dude. And on top of that, his name is Eric, which is about the most plain name I think you could come up with. So a lot of characters in books like this, they would have this real ornate character name like the Count of something, but it's just Eric, just the Phantom. And anyway, I just thought Gaston Leroux just wrote him pretty brilliantly, just how he is so supernatural in the book. He's almost like demonic almost in the book. But in the end, it's just a regular dude pretty much. And it was just a real great character, I think. So, the Phantom slash Eric from Phantom of the Opera gets the 8th spot. Number 7 goes to the Booklings, who are characters in Walter Moore's book, The City of Dreaming Books, and that's my favorite book of all time. And the Booklings appear about halfway through. These little guys are characters who live, basically, they get their nutrition, they say, by reading. And there's this scene in the book where they talk about which books provide the best nutrition. And so they have this debate about that. And then one of the booklings talks about how he is on a diet, so he is only reading poetry, I think. And then one of the other characters is like, a diet you just started yesterday. And anyway, I just really love the booklings. They are great characters. Walter Moers is a brilliant German writer and illustrator who populates his world with fantastic creatures. And the booklings are definitely top of the list. I don't know if I could show you guys the illustration of the booklings, but I love Walter Mooers' drawings so much I began to draw myself and I copied many of them. And so basically the booklings are these guys. So I love the booklings. They're just awesome little creatures. So they are number 7, and again, you could find them in Walter Mooers' book, The City of Dreaming Books. Number 6 is going to be a J.K. Rowling character, and that is going to be Neville. I love Neville Is it Chamberlain? No, it's not Chamberlain. That's the British guy. Neville Longbottom from the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling. Now, I know J.K. Rowling is a very controversial figure right now, but I don't care. I really love Neville Longbottom. He was really my favorite character in the series. The main thing really about Neville is Harry Potter is kind of considered like the underdog, but the truth of the matter is that Harry is one of the more popular kids in class, and Neville is like beneath Harry. So Harry, he is like the star of the Quidditch team, and he is a seeker at such a young age. He is the boy who lived. He's in all the newspapers. His parents left him all this money. He has friends right away. The headmaster is in good with him. And so Harry, even though he is cast as like this underdog figure, Harry is really the popular kid in school compared especially to Neville. Neville is the true underdog of the series. And what I really wanted J.K. Rowling to do, and this is spoilers, but I figure at this point you've probably read the Harry Potter series or you're not going to. But in the end, I really thought that J.K. Rowling should have killed off Harry Potter and left him dead and have Neville be the one who comes through and kills Voldemort. And the reason is because I just do not like the Chosen One prophecy in books. And so what I thought would be far more meaningful is that basically the underdog, the true underdog, Neville, who is basically, no one cares about him in the whole series, he is the one who winds up being the one who dispatches Voldemort, the Dark Lord. That, to me, is a so much better story than just this Chosen One motif. I just hate that. And anyway, I thought it would have been a great character arc if, in the end, Neville is the true hero at the end, the one who defeats evil. Harry is just the one who kind of sets it up, but Neville is the one who follows through on it. And it would send the message that no matter who you are, you could be anyone, really the lowest, most unpopular kid, and you could still do great things. That is a so much better story, I think. Anyway, I just love Neville. I thought he was the true hero of the series, really. I wish J.K. Rowling would have made him be the hero in the end. But anyway, so Neville is the sixth spot here. Number 5 goes to Archie Goodwin, who is the main character slash narrator slash protagonist, whatever, of the Nero Wolfe series by Rex Stout. So the Nero Wolfe series is like 1940s detective mystery, murder mystery book series. And Archie Goodwin is the protagonist, the narrator of the story. Archie is the secretary slash sidekick slash errand boy of the main detective, who is named Nero Wolfe. Nero Wolfe is basically this real obese dude who is just eccentric. He's an eccentric genius. All he wants to do all day is hang out with his orchards, his plants, and do nothing. He is a kind of a lazy guy, but he's also a genius, and he can solve murder cases and whatever really easily if he wants to apply himself, but he really doesn't. So what he does is he just kind of sends Archie on tasks to investigate the murder. And Archie is really the main reason to read the series, I think. While Nero Wolfe is basically fat and lazy, Archie Goodwin is a doer, and he is also a bit of a ladies' man, or at least he is interested in women. Archie is a really funny character, I think. On one hand, he loves trying to get under Nero Wolfe's skin, because Nero Wolfe just doesn't want to be disturbed, so Archie looks for any way he can to mess with Nero Wolfe. He also likes to mess with like the chief of police, whose name is Kramer. Anyway, if there's any reason to read the series, the number one reason would probably be Archie Goodwin. So even though it's the Nero Wolfe series, to me, it's really the Archie Goodwin series. So he gets the 5 spot for my favorite characters. From the Nero Wolfe series to another. On the 4th spot, we have another wolf. This one is Wolf Larsen, who is one of the main characters, really, the titular character of The Sea Wolf by Jack London. The thing about Wolf Larsen is he is basically a savage, and Jack London wrote a lot about savagery, both in animals and in men, and there is no better example of this than his representation of Wolf Larsen. And basically, Wolf Larsen believes in basically rule of the strong. I do not really know much what else to say about it, but the whole book really is quite intellectual, so it can kind of be difficult to read, because like half of it is kind of these intellectual debates about like savagery and right and wrong. There's one of my favorite lines in the book is basically, I think the main character, the protagonist, says that Wolf Larsen is not really an immoral character, but he is an amoral character. So basically, he doesn't even really keep to morality. He just does whatever he wants. I say that's about half the book. The other half of the book is sort of jargon about ships. And that I did not really like as much. That was kind of exhausting, and I didn't think that really added much to the book. But I really loved the debates between the protagonist and Wolf Larsen. And because of it, Wolf Larsen became one of my favorite characters. So I love Wolf Larsen, and because of that, I love The Sea Wolf by Jack London. I really like The Sea Wolf as well as White Fang by Jack London. Those are 2 of my favorite books, and I like the characters of both of them, Wolf Larsen and White Fang, who is a wolf. So I would really recommend both of those books, but I only want to put one of them on the list, and so that clearly goes to Wolf Larsen. And that was the 4th spot. Number 3 goes to Tyrion Lannister from George R.R. Martin's Fire and Ice series, Game of Thrones. Tyrion Lannister is such a great character. He is intelligent. He is politically astute. He is a survivor. We can also relate with him because he has been so mocked, ridiculed, whatever, looked down on because of his physical stature. So that gives us a reason to kind of feel for him. But what I think George R. R. Martin does so well is instead of trying to subvert your expectations and making like Tyrion Lannister into this dwarf guy who is like one of the greatest fighters ever. He is not a great fighter, so he is not going to have a sword in his hand most times. What he's going to do is he's going to hire someone else to do his killing for him. So again, he's just a real practical guy. Anyway, I could talk about it for quite a while, but at the end of the day, Tyrion is just such a cool character, I think. He is so relatable, we root for him for so many reasons, but he's not like this white knight character. So he has this past, like he's into alcohol and women and womanizing and all that. And at the same time, he's not really a very valiant, good guy. So when he finds out his woman basically is cheating on him, he kills her, I think, and then he murders his father on the toilet. So he's not exactly a hero and he's not exactly a villain, but he's not really an anti-hero either. It's just really clear why Tyrion Lannister is a fan favorite, and I think he is George R.R. Martin's favorite character as well. So he's just a great character. So Tyrion Lannister gets the 3 spot here. Number 2 I've talked about several times on my channel already, so I won't go into it in depth, but 2 is Eleanor Oliphant by Gail Honeyman. And if you've seen my videos before, you'll know what I'm about to say. I just love Eleanor because she is so unintentionally funny. She is quite rude to people, but she doesn't really mean to be. I just love Eleanor. I love her to death. She's just such a weird character. Eleanor basically has a few screws loose, but I love her anyway. And again, I don't want to go into it in depth because I've already talked about her several times on this channel, and there's nothing really new I have to add to it. But anyway, I really love Eleanor Oliphant. She's one of my favorite characters of all time. She's hilarious. She doesn't mean to be. She's mean to people. She's rude, but again, she doesn't mean to be. She is just so peculiar, and I love her. So Eleanor Oliphant is the number 2 character of all time for me. And that brings us to number 1. Who could it be? Because this is a character I have not really mentioned too much on this channel before. But the number 1 character of all time for me goes to Dirk Pitt from the Clive Cussler series. Clive Cussler is really the most influential writer for me. His book Atlantis Found was the first book I really read front to end in high school, and Atlantis Found is one of the Dirk Pitt books. So I just fell in love with it, and because of that I kind of fell in love with reading, and in a short time that really inspired me to become a writer and write the Trevor Knight series based largely on Clive Cussler's Dirk Pitt books. This is where sentimentality really comes in making Dirk Pitt the number 1 favorite for me. But what is a top 10 list without some sentimentality? What to say about Dirk Pitt? Dirk Pitt is basically, to me, he's kind of like a man's man. He has this job working like underwater salvage stuff, like finding shipwrecks and also dealing with like some sea pollution stuff. Basically all things sea related, as well as like historical stuff comes into play. So that's very common with Clive Cussler's books, is historical treasures and stuff. The books usually begin with a prologue about some historical event or historical figure, and in the end they are going to discover that buried treasure or historical figure or whatever. So that's going to come into play at the end. There's also bound to be some evil corporation or some mad scientist or warlord or whatever who wants to destroy the world, and the only one who can stop them is Dirk Pitt. Dirk Pitt will encounter a damsel in distress, he will save her, and that will launch him on this adventure to bring down this evil madman who wants to destroy the world. There'll be some car chases, usually with some classic car, non-stop chases, gunfights, fist fights, non-stop fighting, non-stop chases. That's basically a Clive Cussler book. So Dirk Pitt gets the spot here largely just because of how much of an influence he is for me in writing the Trevor Knight series, heavily based on the Dirk Pitt series. But at the same time, I wanted to do things with the Trevor Knight series that I did not really like about the Dirk Pitt series so much. So, for instance, in most of the books, he has this love interest. And at the end of the story, they of course fall in love and ride off into the sunset. But in the next book, she's gone. Where did she go? What happened? They were in love. So I wish I could say more about it since it's the #1 spot, but really it's here because it's just so sentimental to me. The Dirk Pitt series is so influential for me. So I just can't put any other character in #1. So what do you think? Who are some of your favorite characters? What do you think of the characters on this list? That is going to be it. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye. Go Mariners.